What's up guys? Welcome to another episode of Amoro's Toy Workshop, and today we'll be doing another collection comparison for the Age of Ultron Thor by s.h.figuarts, and we'll be comparing the knockoff versus the original Thor. So to start our comparison, let's look at the packaging. So at first glance, you may not see any difference between these two, as both have the Tamashii Nations and the Bandai logos, even the Marvel. So looking at the packaging, both have the Bandai 2015 Made in China logo and the Marvel logo, as well as the Bandai Tamashii Nations and the Bandai Tamashii Nations on this box too. However, looking at the pictures, you can see that there are darker contrasts in the box of the knockoff versus the original. You can see that some details on the knockoff are a bit washed out. So especially looking at the hands of the printed Thor figure, you can see that the hands, the details of the hands on the original is much more obvious than this one, which is almost blacked out. Also, on the top of the packaging, you can see that there are extra details on the side of the box versus the fake one, which is almost washed out. It has a little details, but it's almost washed out. So that's one sure sign to tell which one is the knockoff. Also, as you can see, the border of Thor word here is more reflective silver compared to the knockoff, which doesn't have that reflective border. So when buying the s.h.figuarts store, make sure that you look at these differences in order to make sure that you are buying an authentic Figuarts store. So there's another look at the pictures or the image. So as you can see here, the details of the figures can clearly be seen, and the knockoff, it's almost washed out. Plus the printing of the words is clear, and this one is very hard to read. So that's the comparison between the boxes. Taking the figures out of the box, you can see that unlike the previous knockoffs that we've reviewed, the knockoff of Thor Age of Ultron also has that backing cardboard, which is present in most s.h.figuarts boxes, and they even went as far as to include instruction manuals on the KO. So those who knocked off or produced this knockoff were really trying to pass it off as an original. As you can see, it came complete with instruction manuals. So let's check the knockoff first and take it out of the packaging. So it still has the usual plastic covers, and as you can see, it has the usual accessories included with the s.h.figuarts store. The eyes that look left and right, the hands, extra hands, hammer holding hands, open palms, the hands with Mjolnir's handle, Mjolnir, and Thor himself. As you can see, this K.O., let's take him out of the tray. You can see that this K.O. is really not bad. There are some K.O.s that I've seen that had ridiculous eyes, but this one that I got is really pretty decent. So in other reviews, Thor's eyes were so messed up, they look like they were surprised or was terrified. So I think I got a good one. So has all the details of Thor, original one. So it also has that butterfly joint. One thing to know is that I noticed there's some plastic collars that are out of place in this bootleg. As you can see, in this part, there's an apple green colored plastic, which should not be there. In the original, it's the same color as the body, which is a navy blue, but in this K.O., you can see that there's a apple green plastic part under his armpit. Looking at more details on the head, so there he is. There is the bootleg for you. Let's go check the accessories. Mjolnir also has the proper markings, and if I may say so myself, the details on the handle are quite good. So the makers of this bootleg is really desperately trying to pass this off as an original. And if you're inexperienced, then you might say that you have got an original. So let's take the original out of its packaging. So one thing to note is that I've already opened these figures, and I'm just showing you right now the details on how similar or how different they are. So here is the original. As you can see, it has more sharper facial details, especially the print on the face. and this is what I was talking about earlier, that piece holding the butterfly joint on the original is dark blue, and on the KO it's apple green. So looking closer at the details, as you can see, most of the details of the original were copied by the bootleg. So side by side, here they are. This really is almost a perfect copy of the original s.h.figuarts store. Oh, one thing I noticed is that the hair dangling on this bootleg is not as straight as the one on the original. Also, comparing the details, the details on the original are much sharper than the bootleg. There's some paint slop on this part, while on the original it's perfectly applied. On the bootleg there's some paint slop on that part. On the original, you can see that this silver detail is perfectly applied, while on the bootleg it's not as clean as the one on the original. Looking at the back side, there's also some paint slop on this armor of Thor, as you can see, and another big paint slop on this part. So some may argue that these things might be factory overruns, but again, I will say that these were probably reverse engineered. So they probably molded another Thor, an original Thor, and molded a new one and made a copy. As you can see, the difference is obvious. The details on the arms of Thor are more pronounced, and on the bootleg it's somewhat softer. So to the untrained eye, this bootleg could really pass off as an original. So look closely, guys, when buying Thor. So there's also one thing here, silver on this boots are perfectly applied, while here, although it's neatly applied, the paint used was not as bright silver as the ones used on the original. The ones used on the bootleg is mostly like a gunmetal color, while on the original it's shiny silver. So look out for that. And that's it for the figures. For the accessories, let's compare Mjolnir of the original and Mjolnir on the bootleg. Okay, so here we can see another difference. The Mjolnir pattern on the sides of the hammer are quite sharp, while on the bootleg it's not as sharp, and as you can see, the paint on the bootleg is skewed and it's not as perfectly applied on the bootleg versus the original. Also, you can see that the paint fine details of Mjolnir are neatly applied on the original. On the bootleg, although neatly applied, it's not as neat as the ones on the original, as it has some bleeding. See? Okay. The hands are basically the same. So there's not much difference on the hands. This is the original and this is the knockoff, as you can see. There's a little difference. You can see that the nails on the original can clearly be seen, while on the bootleg it's somewhat washed out. So if you see soft details on your figure, then most probably that figure is a bootleg. Another unique feature of the s.h.figuarts Age of Ultron Thor is the ability to swap eyes in order to make Thor either appear to be looking left or right. So here are the eyes that are looking forward. Okay, and in order to swap the eyes, you can remove Thor's faceplate. So here are the eyes on the original and on the bootleg. So here we got both eyes looking to the left. As you can see, there's really not that big a difference between the two. And let's look at the other pair, the ones looking on the right. So here, as you can see, again, not much difference, except on the bootleg you can see that the blue color used is lighter than the original eyes. So let's see how they look when we install them on Thor. Okay, so to swap Thor's eyes, you need to remove the faceplate. Okay, so there it is, and you simply need to pop this off. Let's use the one looking left first. Pop it in. Okay, install the back of the hair part. And install the face. So here we have Thor looking on the left. So let's do the bootleg Thor and see if it also does it well. So let's remove the face and the eyes part. Let's use the same set, the one that's looking on the left. Okay, so let's insert the back part and insert the front part. And there you have it. Oh, so the KO can also look to the left as well as the original figure. Only thing is that it's very obvious that the blues used on the original is much darker than the ones used on the knockoff. So here are both figures looking on the right. As you can see, they can also look fairly well using the eyes. So I can confirm that the eye gimmick on the Age of Ultron Thor works both on the original and the knockoff. It's one thing to note that there are knockoff Thors that have horrible eye pieces. So I'll be showing you, I'll be popping on a picture of the bootleg Thor with the horrible eyes. So there you have it. That's the bootleg Thor with the horrible eyes. Looks like Thor was terrified of something. So again, when buying bootlegs, make sure to inspect it carefully so as not to get things like this one. So taking a look at the capes, so here's the K.O.version's cape, and this is the original one. So you can see that they both have the markings here on the bootleg or the KO. It has Marvel made in China and a serial number 2302742. And this one on the original, in contrast, it's almost unreadable. So there's almost no difference between the capes of the original Thor and the bootleg Thor. However, the markings at the back side of the cape would be much more legible on the bootleg than on the original, which is almost illegible or cannot really read it. So let's put on the capes on our figures. Both figures have a notch. This is a rubber part or rubber extension, much like Doctor Strange, and there's a notch on the back where you fit in the peg of the cape. So there it is. So both capes have 3 sections. and it can swivel, as you can see. So this is the cape installed on the original one. And it acts as a third leg to make Thor stand easily. And let's install this on the knockoff. Same material, same notch, and same mechanism on how to install. So here is the knockoff version. Let's escape. Okay, so size wise they are identical, and unlike other recent bootlegs wherein the knockoffs were much smaller than the original, this bootleg Thor is same size with the original. So using a ruler, both figures stand to about 6¼ inches. So not a bad size for someone like Thor in this scale. In terms of stability, as expected, the Figuarts is quite stable with no floppy joints. All joints are decently tight without anything between being too tight or being loose. So s.h.figuarts is really stable as expected. For the K.O., although being stable, the pull down joints aren't that stable for the knockoff, and the butterfly joints are a bit loose. However, it's not so bad as the K.O. Iron Man Mark 43. So it doesn't hinder the K.O. from standing, as you can well see. Changing the hands on the knockoff Thor is relatively easy, unlike other knockoff s.h.figuarts. It holds up quite well. So simply pop the hand you want to replace off, and then pop the new one on. So let's use the hammer gripping hand. So to install Mjolnir on Thor's hand, like the original, you simply remove the handle, insert the handle on the gripping hand, and install the hammer head. So again, simply pop off the hand and pop on the hand you want to use. So as I said, it's relatively easy to replace on the K.O., unlike the other knockoffs. So I can say that this K.O. is really not bad. So here's another look at the knockoff. As you can see, it's not bad at all and captures most of the details of the original, and a warning to the untrained eye, some people might pass this off as the original, and it would if you really don't know what you are looking for. And here is the original Thor for comparison. So for my final thoughts on this knockoff comparison, I would say that the knockoff Thor is really not that bad a figure at all as compared to the original, as it has most of the details and copied most of the details of the original. However, stability wise, the original, of course, out of the box comes with stable joints, unlike the KO, which has somewhat loose joints out of the box. However, the loose joints is not a hindrance on the posability of the knockoff. If you'll be getting this knockoff, make sure that the seller is not passing it off as an original, as the knockoff costs around a third of the price of the original. So be careful when buying Age of Ultron Thor, and make sure that you are getting your money's worth. Some unruly sellers might really pass the KO off as a original. So make sure that you ask the details from your seller. At the end of the day, if you are paying knockoff price to get the knockoff, then it's actually one of the best knockoffs that you can get. However, if you be paying an original price for the knockoff, then it's really not worth it. So I hope that this video comparison of the s.h.figuarts Age of Ultron Thor has helped you and informed you on how to spot the knockoff from the original. Again, this is Amro saying have a great weekend, and thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Again, thanks for watching.